It was definitely like that part was, oh my God.
Oh, hi, Bobbi. Oh, my
Okay.
goodness. Oh, my God, she's beautiful.
We said I was going to bring her in. Here she is at
Oh,
a
I
weird
love
time, but
her.
here she is. Oh, we were literally getting deep and you just
I know. It was
but
actually pretty great. Today on the podcast, we have Washington Spirit and U.S. Women's National Team midfielder Hal Hershfelt. Hal has had a breakout year this year as a rookie in the NWSL, helping the Spirit make the NWSL championship. Hal was named to the NWSL Best 11 second team as a rookie and also went to the Olympics with the U.S. as an alternate. Her style of play and obsession with her cat have quickly made her a fan favorite among the women's soccer community. Hal, welcome to the women's game.
hey, thanks so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited you're here. I'm really excited to talk to you. So I did some research for this. I know you're from Mississippi, but you've lived all over the place. And I actually heard that you hadn't been out of the country before the Olympics this summer. So I'm wondering, like, did you have to literally get a passport to go to France?
No, so I actually got a passport like back in college because on a whim I was like, like what if I have to go one day for like a girls trip? I don't know. And then I ended up going for the Olympics, which is cooler than said girls trip.
Kind of a pinnacle girls trip.
Yeah, I know that was kind of crazy. But yeah, that was my first time out of the country. I got my little passport stamped and everything, so that was sick. But yeah, been out a few times now, more than that. But yeah, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, you have. So you've been to France, England, and the Netherlands.
And yes, 3.
How cool. Did you like it? Like, what did you think?
Yeah, it was so cool. Paris was amazing, especially because all the stuff was there for the Olympics. I feel like I got to see like the real deal. And then the Netherlands was also beautiful. So was London. I got to explore a little bit. So that was awesome.
Wow, what an amazing like first trip out to go to the Olympics in Paris. Like I'm like pretty sure that's the sickest place you could go.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's really cool. Okay, so the other thing I heard about you is that you have a cat, Bobbi with one eye. I want to hear everything. I want to hear everything about Bobbi.
I got her back in college. I've had her for like 3 years now. I'm like looking around so I can come get her. Bobbi, come on. She's like in her own world right now. Come on, girl. Anyways, I've had her for 3 years. She looks a little different. She doesn't have a tail, doesn't have an eye. I actually like wasn't really planning on getting a cat that day. I was like, let me just like look around and see what's up. And I saw her and she was kind of a little screwed up, so they gave her to me for free, and I've had her ever since. Yeah,
Oh
I wish
my
she'd come
God.
over here.
Was this at like a pet shelter?
Yeah,
An
it was like
animal
a shelter in Anderson, South Carolina. I just picked her up. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so obsessed. Okay, so you've had her for 3 years. She has no tail. She has one eye. I need to ask, this is like a big question. This is going to actually be our Olipop gut check of the week. What's your favorite thing that Bobbi does?
She fetches. She's so talented.
No way.
Yeah. She's
What
a
kind of
character for sure.
toys?
She only fetches with this one toy. It's like a little like crunchy like taco. And I've had it the entire time I've had her. She will not fetch anything else. She's pretty one-dimensional. She doesn't really give anything else the time of day but her crunchy taco. So yeah. That's about
Oh
it.
my gosh. So I'm like pretty like infamously a dog person, but
Mm-hmm.
my sister's fiance, they have a cat now together, Helen, and I like actually really
Helen?
love Helen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
I
whenever
love
I go visit them, I like ingratiate myself really quickly to Helen, and she'll like come sleep with me, and they're like, Helen doesn't really do this. So like I actually kind of feel secretly like I'm also a little bit of a cat
Wow,
person.
so you're kind of the favorite. Like you're Helen's favorite. I kind of love when people give their animals like human names, like Kevin or like Helen or something. Like that's
Kevin,
actually so funny.
Kevin, I think is the funniest pet name like ever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, I love that. Well, we love Bobbi. If she does come over near you, please pick
Yeah,
her up
I
so
wish
we can
she'd
see.
pull up. Oh, if I
I know,
interrupt
she's-
later with her like this,
Yeah,
like
it'll be
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
She's just a little camera shy. Okay, we'll get into the soccer now, reluctantly. I know that you played 5 years at Clemson, and then you were selected 5th overall in the NWSL just in 2024 to the Washington Spirit. What was the draft process and like the transition from college to professional like for you?
Gosh, I feel like it happened so fast because I mean, like we had kind of like a month of off season, I guess, but as soon as you get drafted, like you're kind of like, okay, well, in a week you move to DC, pick everything up and move. But yeah, I didn't actually go to the draft. I stayed home because I wanted my whole family there. I did it in Atlanta. I had my mom come up from Mississippi. It was a great time. We had a little party for it. But yeah, it was a pretty quick turnaround. You kind of get thrown into preseason. And I mean, at the time, like, of course, it's a little intimidating because you're like, I'm meeting a whole new team. And personally, for me, I was with Clemson for 5 years. Like, that's a long time. So I was kind of like, man, like, what's going to happen now? But it ended up working out great. Like, I seriously love my team. The whole draft process in itself is kind of like you kind of do some talking to teams as soon as your season ends. I really didn't really have any idea of where I was going to go. I feel like nobody really does because you never know what's going to happen, especially with like trades and everything. You don't know what the overall plan is. But I did kind of like have a bias towards the Spirit just because it was on the East Coast. Like, I'm an East Coast girl. I really love like the vision that they had for the team. And of course, like, Michelle King is a selling point. So
For sure.
I was like, wow, this is like a really great opportunity. I would love to end up there. And that's kind of how it happened. And I've been loving it ever since.
Oh my gosh, I know. Well, you had such a great season. It was so fun to watch you. Early on, like when you're first arriving there, it's preseason. How did you feel about the level of play? Was it a big jump up from college? And like, how do you think you adjusted to that?
It was definitely a jump from college. I mean, the idea of it in itself is like you're getting all the best players from college and kind of throwing them on. And then of course, people that have been on the team, they've been in the league for like 10 years. It's insane just the amount of like experience that they bring, and it kind of just opened my eyes to the possibilities of being in this league and being in this sport. I mean, it was definitely an eye opener the first couple of weeks of preseason. I was like, what am I getting myself into? But eventually, like, my team was so welcoming. We have great staff, like great leadership. So I felt pretty like welcomed. Like, it was okay to mess up and it was okay to have learning moments. So I feel like that kind of helped too.
Yeah, definitely. I think that team, like chemistry and like the welcoming environment can be really, really helpful. What would you say was like the biggest change? Like, I think my guesses and in my experience would be like speed of play and intensity, but I'm curious what you thought.
Speed of play and intensity, especially in this league. Like, I feel like, I mean, our team is kind of straying away from that like transitional style of play, but that's kind of what people exploit in this league, is just how quickly people can get things moving. So kind of being aware of that and being careful, especially when like we have such athletic players up top that, I mean, we take advantage of that, but I mean, other teams have that too. That was not a thing in college. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. As a midfielder, like, I mean, in my experience, and I played a few years ago, obviously at this point. So what the transition game meant for me was really just a lot of running. Like, it was,
Yeah.
you're involved in the attack, but you also have to get back and defend. And it's so much running back and forth. What do
hmm
you see as the role of a midfielder in your position in this league, but also on your team who is trying to kind of play a little bit of a different style?
Yeah. So I feel like my role throughout the season has kind of changed a lot. At the beginning of the year before Annie got hurt, I was more of like an 8. So in that case, I was like, oh, like if they're going, I'm going. I'm getting up there. But then like as a 6, about like a little over halfway through the season, like I started playing like a single pivot because unfortunately Andy got hurt. So didn't have my little midfield partner, and I kind of had to play like a true 6. And I feel like when I would see the other team get like revved up for a transition moment, I was like, this is my moment. Like, I got to stop this, you know? So I had like a completely different role. I mean, I like both in their own ways, but towards the end of the season, I was like, oh, this is my moment. Like, I got to get in there.
Wow. I love that you felt that way defensively. I think that's like actually rare in a midfielder, especially like an attacking midfielder, to see a defensive moment as your like chance to shine. And I'm like, it actually makes me really excited.
Yeah, that's how I feel like that was my job at Clemson for like 5 years. And
Uh-huh.
I got to have a little bit of freedom when I came here because I had more of an attacking role. And then like, I feel like that is kind of my mindset in the midfield. It always has been. So like when that opportunity kind of came, I was like, this is going to be like my job.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's really, really cool. I like that. Well, you adjusted great. We're kind of back in the beginning of the year. You got called into your first U.S. Women's National Team camp in June. As a midfielder on the national team, what was the difference? Like when you go into that first camp, well, first, how did you feel to get called into your first camp?
That was crazy. I mean, I'd never been called up like in youth teams before. So when I got like email about coming to the full team, I was like, whoa, because I was like, surely I'm still like 22. Like if I were to get called in, like it might be the U23s. I don't know. But then they told me I was going in for the full, and I was like, oh my God. But that was really exciting, and I was so grateful. It's been really cool.
That's so cool. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get all the way into that, but I'm curious the transition from going to from club to country. Kind of what did you notice in your first camp that was expected from you as a midfielder on the national team?
Yeah, so this is actually a big thing that I still feel like I'm dealing with is like tactically, like
Mm-hmm.
having to get used to like what they value tactically and then going back to club and immediately having to transition to what like my club coaches want me to do
Mm-hmm.
tactically. I feel like that's been like back in the day, like my transition from college to club, that was already kind of a tactical jump. And then kind of having to balance both teams has also been like an interesting journey. I've gotten better at it. My first camp, it was such an eye opener to me because I had to go straight from practicing one way with the national team to like playing an away game in Utah. Like literally straight from, and I had never done that before. So I was like, okay, this is like a whole new world, but we're going to roll with it. But I've definitely gotten more like open-minded when it comes to that stuff, having to kind of like flip my train of thought, I guess, depending on what team I'm with.
Yeah, I think that that's one of the hardest parts, especially when you're asked to play a little bit of a different role between club and country. But I will say it's something that you will get used to as time goes on. I think it's something people kind of learn to adjust to. In that first June camp, did you have any expectations? It was like the last camp before the Olympics. Like, what were you thinking? Were you like, I'm trying to make this Olympic roster?
I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, I didn't even know what was going on. Like, I mean, like, I got called in and I was like, yeah, like, I'm gonna try to prove myself on the women's national team.
Yeah.
Did I think I was gonna go to the Olympics? I mean, like,
I mean, it's
everyone has that
crazy.
hope and dream, but like in that first camp, I feel like Emma, that was obviously like her first camp, I think, and like we were like honing in on tactics so much, like we didn't get to play that much. So I was like, dang, like I guess we'll see what happens, type of thing. Like I feel like I
Yeah.
didn't really get a chance to like play that much at that camp, and then I was like, okay, like we'll see what she's thinking, and then I literally like I got the call like for the Olympics, and I was like, whoa, because it was before the CBA break, and I was sitting here, I was like, dang, I wonder when I'm gonna find out because I got to kind of figure out what I'm doing, if not. And then I got the call. I was literally in like a nail place and I got the call and I was like, oh my God. And like the nail lady was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm going to the Olympics. Like it was so funny. I was literally like in public and like everyone in the nail salon was like, what the heck? So it was so random, but I mean, I'm so thankful that I got to go, but I can't sit here and say that I was expecting it because I truly like wasn't, but I'm so happy that I did because I seriously learned like so much just from like, once again, we talk about my first time being out of the country. Like, I feel like that was also a life experience in itself.
Yeah.
There was just so much, but yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, what an incredible accomplishment. What I was thinking when you were saying that was like, I know the kind of camp you're talking about where the team is really narrowing in on tactics for the tournament. And if you were kind of there, you weren't in the starting 11, so you were probably pretending to be on the other team more often than not. But what I imagine that you showed is like a willingness to learn, a willingness to play your role, and like bringing a lot of potential and a lot of positivity to the team. And that's something that really can't be understated. Like, I think that's actually such a critical role, especially for somebody who's young. It's your first camp. Making the roster, even though it was the expanded roster of 22, after only one camp is really an incredible accomplishment. So a huge congratulations. What was the tournament like for you individually? Like, were there any difficult moments or were you just kind of like trying to enjoy the ride?
I was definitely trying to enjoy the ride. There was some great people on the team that actually like talk, like Lynn, I remember like specifically like talked to me about how like she was like, I know this is a hard role. And Crystal says it to me too. She's like, I know this is a hard role and like you just got to keep bringing good vibes and like working hard at practice. She didn't say that word for word, but it was something along the lines of that. But
we won't quote her.
Yeah, it was like I just remember I was like, yeah, like thank you so much. But yeah, it was definitely interesting just because like coming from club, I'd been like playing all the games and like then I was in this environment where I was really like honing in on practice. And then like later in the tournament, we were traveling so much, there wasn't really any practice. So I was like, I'm just going to like have the best attitude I can, bring the best vibes that I can. Cause also that's a hard tournament. Like that's another thing that I learned, like how close they played together, and they were like intense games too. I was like, geez. So I was like, I know they're kind of in like, yes, the Olympics amazing, but you kind of get into a mental place where you like, I need to like get to the next game and like grind it out, you know? So I feel like in that moment, like as an alternate, like you just have to bring good vibes and good energy every single day. And like that's what I was trying to do in that moment. But it was so cool to just be there, especially in the gold medal game, just like the raw emotion when they won the game. I was like, I'm going to remember this forever. It was so awesome.
That is so cool. Where were you watching the games from?
So some of the stadiums, like in the smaller stadiums in Marseille, I literally don't know how to pronounce it
I
still.
think you just did it so well. I'm like, is she French?
Thanks. Wow. My month in France did something, I guess. But it was like we would be like in the first row of the stands behind the bench. And then like in Paris, we were in kind of the bench area, like right above, like one row above the bench. So we were still kind of like
nice.
there. Yeah, and I could like say hey and stuff. But yeah, we were pretty close.
When you guys won, did you get to run down on the field with everybody?
Yeah, we got to run on the field. Yeah, that was so cool.
Oh my God, that is so cool. So I'll make it about me again really quickly. I was an alternate in 2016 and we did not win. We didn't do very well, but we were watching from like way high up in the stands. And I remember watching and being so far away and just like watching us lose and like having to then like find our way back down through the crowds to the locker room where everybody was already kind of like in there and talking and crying, and like we were so separated. It was such a bizarre situation to be in.
Yeah, that's got to be weird. Because, I mean, like, yes, you're an alternate. But you've been there by their side, like, the whole entire month. And, like, you want to celebrate with them because it's just, like, a great moment for everybody. And it's just, that's tough, like, being so far.
I know. It was so bizarre. But what I will say is I think being an alternate really set me up to be a better teammate moving forward. Like, Lynn coming up to you and saying, I know this is a hard role. Lynn knows that because she's been an alternate. And what I'll also say is that the experience of like, it wasn't about us in that tournament. Like we had to just do what you did and bring good vibes and like kind of be positive reinforcement for the team. It also like bonded me for life to Emily Sonnet, who was an alternate at the same time with me. And now I feel like we will like always share that. So I wanted to ask about you and Jane Campbell because, and this is like so hard to even ask about. I know you're the only players who didn't get a gold medal because you guys didn't roster for any of the games. And I'm wondering how that felt. Like, was that a really difficult thing for you guys to go through?
I didn't really like think it was that weird until like the podium thing happened and we were like so far away. It was kind of similar to what you were saying. We were like off like way back and we were like, and they were also being weird about us, like not our coaches, like the stadium staff were like being weird about us, like going into the picture with them. And we were just like, screw it, we're going in the picture, like we don't care. And like I just remember looking back and this lady's like, and we were just like, I'm going in the picture. But it was definitely like that part was oh my God.
Oh, hi Bobbi. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Oh my God, she's beautiful.
We said I was gonna bring her in. Here she is. At a weird time, but here she is. I mean, we were literally getting deep, and you just.
I know, it was actually pretty great.
Yeah, but that part was a little weird. It like didn't really hit me until that happened because we were just so kind of like far removed. But they were really sweet about it. They were like waving at us and everything. And then actually later on, at one of the camps after the Olympics, they got us this cute little like Olympic ring bracelet. It was like a little gold Olympic ring bracelet.
The team did that for you?
Yeah, the team did that for us, and that was really sweet. And I was like, oh, but yeah, it didn't really like affect me that much. Of course, like. I would have wanted to be up there with them and everything, but at the same time, like, it didn't really hit me. It didn't really, like, dawn on me until that moment was a little awkward, but other than that, I was just so happy for them. I feel like I was just like, holy crap, I got to witness this, and, like, I got to be here with them, and I get to celebrate with them afterwards. I was just happy about the celebration afterwards, honestly.
Yeah, but it was so fun. I'm, like, so jealous. Do you think that in some ways it's like motivating you to get back in that position to make another gold medal match with the national team and be there on the field?
For sure. For sure. I was thinking that as soon as I left. I was like, man, like, I'm gonna get mine one day. Like, and actually, like, hopefully, like, be able to play and like be there and like fully experience it. Because as an alternate, like, it was great because we got to like see it and kind of like feel those emotions with the team. But I was like, I want to be able to experience that one day. So yeah, and it's gonna feel so much better. Like when it does happen, I'm manifesting it right now. When it does happen, it's gonna feel so much better because I'm gonna be like, I've been here. I didn't get to fully, this time.
I love that so much. Well, you ended up getting your first cap with the U.S. Women's National Team after all of
Yeah.
this. That was in October against Iceland. You subbed on for Sam Coffey. And Hal, you made such a huge impact. I loved watching you out there. You're
Thanks.
such a dominant physical presence, and the intensity that you brought into your tackles, I was like fired up. Like, I know you didn't play for that long, but I was like, Hal has got it. I'm really excited. How did it feel for you to get your first cap with the national team after going through all of what you went through over the summer being an alternate?
It was awesome. It felt so great. I was like hoping in that camp just because there are so many games and like there's such quick turnaround to when we all had to go back to club. I was like, I feel like if there's a time to get minutes, it would be now. And I'm happy that I was able to play in the Argentina game after that because I was like, God, like that was fun. Like I want to go in again. So, but yeah, that was so cool and just obviously like I feel so much pride playing for my club, but there's something different about like playing for your country. Like I was like, wow, like the amount of like emotion like subbing on. I was like, geez. But
I know. I think also because, and I imagine this is true for you too, like you've idolized the team for so long that
yes,
moment
yeah,
where you're like, oh, am I on it now? Is like
yeah,
really overwhelming and like really emotional. Okay, I want to jump back to the Spirit in your second half of the season. You had to integrate back with the Spirit after the Olympics, and the team had gone through a coaching change while you were away. Jonathan Heraldez from Barcelona had come to coach. What was that adjustment like for you, kind of reintegrating back into the team as they had like adjusted to having a new coach?
yeah. So that was interesting because they kind of went through during that summer cup period. They went through kind of like a second mini preseason, and obviously at the Olympics, like we were traveling so much and like didn't get to train that much. I wasn't playing in games. I definitely came back. I felt like, well, I've been straight up with this kind of stuff. I felt a little out of shape and a little out of it. And like, I missed so much like tactical, like talk on the team. And like, we got a little briefing when they came back. They did everything that they could, but there's like, even though you get all the information, like sometimes your body's just not there yet. Like I came back and I felt a little like awkward and I was like, whew, that was definitely something that I had to get over. And of course, as a rookie and like, I know I'm an important part on my like team back home. I was like, man, like I'm just not up to the standard that I had in my head. Cause you also like coming back from an Olympics where I didn't play or anything. I was like, I want to come back and I want to like show out. I want to show people why.
I get
And
that.
then it's like you come back and I'm like, whoo, I'm huffing puffing a little more than I normally would. I'm like, what's going on? So that was definitely a little hump that I had to get over. But after a couple games, like I felt more like myself and kind of got back into the rhythm of things. But definitely had to play a little bit of catch up with like new staff, like new ideas, new tactics. But of course, with anything, like me being impatient, a rookie, I'm like, this needs to happen as soon as I get back. It's not like that sometimes. Like I'm going to have to get back into the groove. It's going to take a little time, but it ended up working out.
Well, it definitely did. I just want to say really quickly, what you're talking about, that transition back, especially after a world tournament, is so real. You definitely feel a little bit out of shape, especially that you were an alternate and you weren't kind of, your training was not set up for you as like a returning NWSL player. It was set up to help the team win the Olympics. And then just adjusting back to a new team, a new coach, I totally get that. And I'm actually really glad you shared that. But you definitely found your way back to form. You scored a really crucial goal for the Spirit during playoffs. It was a header off of a corner kick to tie it up with Gotham and send the teams into penalty kicks. Can you talk us through that goal and kind of take us into the moment? You know your team needs a goal. The clock is ticking down. What's going through your mind as the ball is coming your way?
Honestly, at first we had a bunch of targets in the box and I'm usually like the transition person off of like free kicks. Like I kind of wait if there's a transition moment to stop it. But McKenna, my old Clemson teammate, was the one that was like taking the free kick. And I was like, I know how she's going to serve this ball. Like I've been watching her serve balls for like 5, if you add the NWSL years, 6 years now. Like I need to get in there. And so I was like, she drove it perfectly. Like And I just like, I think I just need to get my head on this. There's so much traffic in front of the keeper. Like, I feel like if I get my head on this, it'll be fine. And it went in. When I tell you, I mean, we had a sellout at that game, and it was so loud. You know, in movies when something happens and like your ears ring and it's like, "Woo," like that's literally the moment that I had. I was like, what's going on? I couldn't hear anything. It was so loud, and my teammates were going crazy. That was just such a great moment, honestly. And then Aubrey came up with like 3 massive saves in the PK shootout. It was just something out of a movie, like, honestly.
I know. That was such an exciting and incredible game to watch. Aubrey saves. That was just so
She's
incredible.
a beast,
I
actually.
know.
Like,
I know. Well, I was at the championship game in Kansas City, and I've been to a lot of championship weekends, and this was by far like the biggest. It showed me that the league is growing and investing and making that final game like a big spectacle for fans and brands. It was like really, really cool to see the growth. I know that the game didn't go you guys' way, but what was championship weekend as a whole like for you as a rookie?
yeah, it was awesome. I mean, we had like that really cool media day thing where we went in and we talked to people about the game, and they like had like a nice little thing for the best 11 awards and like the midfielder of the year award for Croy, and that was seriously so awesome. And they had so many fun like we took little pictures together like as a team, and it was there was a lot going on, but I feel like they also did a good job of like being like, hey, like this is about the game too. Like, yes, we had our little media day when we rolled in, but after that it was very chill. Like, you have a big game, like we release you kind of thing. But yeah. And then obviously training at the stadium, that was so cool the day before the game. They have a great stadium. Um, but it was a really cool weekend all around. And yeah, the game did not go our way. But still a lot of fun memories. And it was just awesome to be there in my first season playing in a championship. Like that's so cool. When I look back at the bigger picture, I think of that and I'm like, wow.
And I think that's honestly another experience that's going to motivate you and set you up for even more success in the years to come. You're going to be like, I'm coming back here and I'm winning at this time.
For sure. And I feel like our team had gone through so much this past year with like injuries and stuff like that, and we were still able to make it that far and play a good game. I was like, I feel like the ceiling is like so high for us.
Yeah. Do you think your team felt like underdogs in a way? I being part of the media now, I was trying to follow like the narratives of both teams, and I think Orlando certainly felt unseen by the media. And then they made it all the way to the championship. But I was trying to understand your team's kind of internal narrative. Like, how did you guys think about yourselves last year?
I feel like for the final, like people were like, oh, Orlando easy, 4-0. Like I saw stuff like that and I was like,
That's tough.
geez, like we're a good team. We've been
Yeah.
second for the majority of the season, and I feel like we've put up great results, and we've dealt with some stuff during this season.
Yeah.
Like stuff hasn't gone our way and we're still here right now. I feel like definitely people were looking at us as like, whatever, like kind of writing us off. And like in our heads, I'm like, we're not the underdogs. We've been at the top of the table the whole season. I think it's just we were kind of like the unexpected, because we had been through so much. People just so easily were like, they're not going to make it.
For sure. I mean, I even think about your game against Gotham. I think people were probably banking on Gotham. And I hear you that being on your side of it, it's kind of like, what the heck? Like, we are crushing it. Like, why are you not betting on us?
Some of the stuff that came out before the Gotham game, afterwards, I was like, I hope y'all lost some money on your bets, because I was just crazy. Like, people were so quick
I
to
know.
write us off. It was so
I
quick.
know. I know. Okay, well, moving into 2025, I personally, I had predicted that Orlando would win the championship, and now I'm kind of like, I see big things for the Washington Spirit. I'm really excited to watch you all next year. I think your young talent is unmatched. And talking to you, I'm like, this team is going to be super motivated for 2025. What excites you the most about playing for the Spirit in 2025?
Honestly, like what you just said about the motivation, the fire, like after this year, we have a lot of young players. My thing is like, once again, I talk about the ceiling. Like, I feel like once we get more experience, we played like we were experienced this year. I feel like my rookie class, like we came in and we helped the team out a lot. And I'm just like, imagine like another year under our belt, like, and especially like building on relationships, because we had a bunch of people come halfway through the season, which they were still there for a good like 5-6 months, but I feel like with time, like those relationships will grow even more. And like you said, we have a lot of young players. I just feel like we have so much potential. And with that little fire underneath us from this past final, I feel like possibilities are kind of endless. And I'm really excited to see what happens.
Good. Well, I'm really excited for you. I'm definitely cheering for you. So we just like put out there, we're having Hal Hershfelt on. Send us your questions. Literally, we can't even name the fans because we got absolutely barraged about one, the coffee reviews. So for anybody who doesn't know, you do coffee reviews every road trip with the Spirit on TikTok.
Hey guys, we're at Ox Coffee in San Diego and we're about to rate some drinks. I like mine a lot. I give it like an 8, honestly. It's pretty good.
How did this come about and how much research goes into picking the place to go?
When I tell you there is zero research, we get like some people will be like, hey, try this place, and like we'll try it, but it's like such like a like spur of the moment, like I'm looking on my Google Maps before like
we can walk here.
No, literally, it's like what is in walking distance of the hotel, like nothing is safe. But I'm literally like, it started on the first, I think it was in Portland. So it wasn't our first away trip, but we were in Portland. I heard it was like a good coffee city. It is a good coffee city. And we were just kind of like, I was like, would it be so stupid if I filmed this? So we made reviews, and like, I think I was with Kate Wiesner and like Lena and Aubrey, and they were like, oh, that'd be kind of fun. Like, why not? And I was like, okay. So I whipped my camera out and I started doing it. And people liked it. We were getting like recommendations, and like it was getting sent around, and I was like, oh, why don't I just make this a thing? So we started doing it like regularly, and it's fun to like get out and walk around like when you're traveling in new cities. So it's like a little activity for all of us, and we'll make like the new people do it too. Like I forced Lacey to do it one time, and she was like, she barely knew English too. I was like, oh God, but she did great. We're like, Lacey, just rate it 1 to 10, and she's like, okay.
Hey guys, I'm Lacey. This is my ice latte. I have new in the team, so this is 7 point
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
It was honestly like an icebreaker for her because it was like our first trip together, so it was fun.
That is so awesome. Which NWSL city do you think has the best coffee?
Portland has really good coffee. I like this one place. It was surprising to me because it was Louisville. No hate to Louisville, but like I was like, it was Quills. It had like a little outdoor seating area. It was so cute. I like the vibes there. That was a place that I remember because we were there for a while because we had like a whole day before the game, and we were just kind of like chatting and drinking coffee. But yeah.
I love that. That's so fun that you guys do that. I'm going to keep my eyes on your TikTok for those reviews.
Hal Hersh.
The other question everybody wanted to know the answer to, everybody asked about your tattoos. So I'm just curious, maybe you can tell us about some of them, or maybe tell us about a favorite, or like your most recent one, or like whatever it is you want to share.
I got one like literally the other day, and it seems impulsive. I got my knuckles tatted. And
wait.
I hope my grandma doesn't see this.
Oh my God.
Sometimes they don't notice if I have new ones because I have so many.
Yeah. Where? Okay, I need to know about the knuckle. What do the knuckles say?
They just says "stay warm." It's from a poem. It's basically like "stay kind," which is kind of ironic because it's on my knuckles. It looks like I'm about to punch somebody, but it's like it's a nice one.
Oh my God, that's really sweet. I really love that. Where did when did you first start getting tattoos, and like why do you like them?
I got my first one when I was like 16 or 17. I got it on my ribs. It was like a Bible verse on my ribs. I feel like that's the typical first tattoo for everyone. Bible verse on the ribs. But then I kind of always liked tattoos. I feel like, I don't know, like the place where I grew up, like it was normal. And then I kind of went to Clemson and I had some, and it's not normal there. So people were like, oh, like you have a lot of tattoos. And I was like, yeah. But I would go back home to Atlanta, and it was just something that I like really liked. I would spend off season in Atlanta, and I've always liked tattoos, and I had a good artist there. So I was like, something I like to do. I'll never forget. I came back sophomore year from COVID with like a sleeve, and my teammates were like, oh my God, like Hal, you are so random. I just showed up with a sleeve because I always wanted a sleeve.
Yeah.
And I got one, and I just feel like tattoos are just such like a fun way to express yourself, and they can have meaning. They might not have meaning, but if you like it, why not?
Yeah, I love that. Your tattoos are so cool. My tattoos are so not cool. I'm going to show you this. You're going to die laughing. When I was 18, I went and got this peace sign on my wrist, and it's like not even good. It's like literally so embarrassing.
It's the memory though. You probably felt so cool when you were doing that in the moment. You know what I'm saying? You look back on it and you're like,
I got in so much trouble for this, and
You
now
did?
it's just like, yes! It's so stupid, but like it's pretty funny. But I do love your tattoos. That's so cool. I'm so glad you told us about that. Okay, last question. Emerson Cole on Instagram wants to know, what's your favorite part about living in DC, and do you have any favorite places to go?
Gosh, I love DC. We're actually in like Northern Virginia, so DC's a kind of a hike, but I really like the other day, there's a bunch of farmers markets and stuff like that in the DC area. I just love cool little spots like that. And there's a bunch of like cool, like thrift stores, like antique stores. Like it's a cool city. There's some cool spots. And the food there is great. I'm like a foodie. I love like trying new restaurants, new coffee shops and stuff like that. So when I am able to make it into the city, I just like to do some research the night before and kind of see where I want to. It's honestly based around where I want to eat. Like Georgetown is so cute too for like shopping and cool coffee spots. There's a lot of cool pockets in the city that I really enjoy exploring on the off days. So.
Oh, that is so great. Yeah, you sound like somebody who I would ask for recommendations for coffee and food if I was going to your city for sure.
For sure.
Okay, Hal, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for doing this today. You have so quickly become such a fan favorite in the NWSL and for the U.S. Women's National Team. I'm really, really excited to see you continue playing for both. I'm a huge fan, and I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yay. Okay, good. Chatting with Hal was so much fun. She really had such an awesome 2024 and is doing such a great job setting herself up for success in both the NWSL and for the U.S. Women's National Team. Hal is a really fun player to watch, especially in that midfield, and her journey was really, really enjoyable for me to hear about. I connected with her about so many things. Next week, we have an interview with Emma Sears, forward for Racing Louisville, coming out. So make sure you catch that wherever you get your podcasts or on our YouTube channel. You can also follow along with the women's game across all of our social channels at Women's Game MIB. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky. You can also send me an email anytime at womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. Thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you soon.